Arsenal head into the new Premier League season with a familiar story. They finished second in each of the last 3 campaigns. But this year feels different. Manager Mikel Arteta has finally delivered the striker that the club desperately needed, a revamped midfield, and added defensive insurance, all to push for a return to the summit. Incoming transfers for Arsenal are pretty significant. The first one is going to be the obvious, which is the striker Viktor Gyökeres was purchased from Sporting CP. And Viktor Gyökeres is actually a really interesting player. He hasn't played a ton of top flight football. He actually hadn't played any before he started playing for Sporting a couple of years ago. He scored 54 goals in 52 games last season in the Portuguese league, and he arrives to Arsenal on a 5-year deal. Next, we've got Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. Zubimendi is a fantastic player. I rate him really highly. He's a composed, ball-winning midfielder, and he's expected to anchor the transition, which will free Declan Rice to drive higher up the pitch. Additionally, Arsenal have purchased Noni Madueke from Chelsea for about £50 million. Madueke is incredibly underrated, in my opinion. He's a dynamic winger, and he'll provide direct pace and finish from the flanks. They also purchased Christian Mosquera from Valencia. Mosquera is young, composed, and he'll strengthen center-back depth for Arsenal for sure. Christian Norgard was also purchased from Brentford. Norgard's a Premier League proven, versatile midfield engine, and I think he'll be really effective for Arsenal. Maybe not a star signing, but someone who will definitely fill out the depth and make them a better team as a whole. They also purchased Kepa Arrizabalaga from Chelsea. Kepa will bring experience and competition to the goalkeeper position, and they got him for a steal, in my opinion. I think it was about £5 million. There weren't a ton of departures from Arsenal this season. Their net spend estimate is steep, but Arteta's reinvestment focuses squarely on missing pieces. I think they've done a really good job at filling holes with players who have, at the very least, incredibly high floors, and some of them have really high ceilings as well. At the very least, these players are solid, and they will slot into the roles that are needed for Arsenal to be a better team as a whole, a more complete team. One thing with Arsenal I've noticed in the past is they've, especially for the past 8 to 10 years, have taken a ton of risks and spent a lot of money on players that didn't necessarily pan out or were underwhelming at best. I don't really see in any of these incoming players that model. I think all of these players will be good. Some of them have the potential to be great, like Gyökeres. I guess we'll see as far as that's concerned, but I think Arteta and then the team there at Arsenal did a very good job this summer transfer window in choosing their players, and I think they'll be solid as a whole. As far as tactics for Arsenal, Arteta's core system, which is a possession-based, high-pressing 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, I think that'll still be in place, but these transfers will open some tactical variants. Okay, so Gyökeres allows a genuine number 9 to lead the line, bringing physicality and finishing inside the box, which is a key missing link in their previous title challenges. Zubimendi, paired with Norgard, will give Arteta some tactical flexibility. Either a dark pivot, shielding defense, or a duo for dynamic cover. This will allow Rice to operate more freely as a box-to-box orchestrator, which is definitely where his strengths lie. Madueke will inject some width and unpredictability on the right. He could possibly rotate with Saka for freshness or be part of double-wide overloads. Mosquera will add rotational options with Gabriel, which will enable tactical swings between 4-4-2 defensive blocks and 3-2-5 and build up. Kepa will offer some goalkeeping stability without disrupting Raya's spot and will allow for more rest or cup rotation. In game, I think you'll see more vertical thrusts, sharper half-space play, and refined pressing triggers, especially from the midfield trio. In my opinion, I think Arsenal will look to mix structured control with sharper transitions, which is something that's been lacking in the past. I think they've been a bit too predictable, and I think that'll be slightly different this year. Some of Arsenal's strengths, of which they have many, of course, at this stage, they have a complete spine, in my opinion. Striker, midfielders, defense, goalkeeper, and it's all built with age and alignment in mind. Like I said, I think they made a lot of smart transfers this summer. Their squad depth is significantly improved, especially across the midfield and the attack. And as always, their home atmosphere is primed. I know they're very excited. The Emirates is a great stadium, it seems like, to play at. I would love to play there if I was a professional footballer. But that really does matter, especially once the season gets tough and players are tired. I mean, it's really important to have that environment at home. So I think the fans will be there for them. Some of their weaknesses, in my opinion, I think there are going to be enormous expectations on Gyökeres. Adjustment to the Premier League could be difficult. I think we have seen in the past a number of players that have come from the Portuguese league to the Premier League and struggled. I think an obvious example of this would be Darwin Núñez for Liverpool. Núñez wasn't a bad player for Liverpool, but he never really, seemed to meet his potential when he came over. And there have been other players like that too. I think the Premier League is so fast, is so physical, and it's just a great league, right? So you have to be top notch, and sometimes we've seen players come over from Portugal and struggle, but we've also seen some that have come over and balled out too. So I guess we'll see how he plays. But those expectations could be, crushing for him if he doesn't fit the bill. Second, Martinelli will face pressure for consistency as competition intensifies, and I think they're still vulnerable to injuries. So rotation will be key, especially throughout the season. My prediction for Arsenal this season is a bit complex. Okay, so they've unquestionably improved their squad. I think, they've signed a top-level striker in Gyökeres. I really believe in the young man. I think their midfield reinforcement with Zubimendi and Norgard, plus greater depth across the spine, will put them firmly in the title conversation. However, when you weigh everything, Liverpool's momentum, recruitment, the fact that they spent $500 million after winning the title, signing players like Florian Wirtz and Frimpong and players like that, I think that paired with Manchester City's just relentless evolution, their depth, and really narrow margins at the top, I think Arsenal are slightly more likely to fall short this season. The key reasons for this prediction is I just think that they have stronger rivals at this stage. I think Liverpool and Manchester City have both made targeted additions, and they look poised to convert marginal gains into more points over a full season. I think the top three race is likely to be extremely tight, and small edges matter. Unfortunately, while I like Arteta as a manager, as a whole, I think he's smart. I think he's a great player. I think he's tactically sound. But I just don't think that Arteta is at the same level as managers like Pep Guardiola, who's, in some people's mind, the best manager of all time, and someone like Arne Slot, who's transitioned seamlessly into the Premier League, and it's just been fantastic for Liverpool. I think that another reason why I'm predicting that they're falling short this season is that Gyökeres is an elite scorer, but being new to the Premier League, like I said before, the tempo, the physicality, even with this proven finishing, there's a realistic sort of bedding in period for him and for the new midfield partnerships, which, if they struggle a bit early in the season, which is understandable, that could affect them in the title race as the season goes on. So they don't have much room for error in that sense. I think with them also playing in Europe, juggling the squad will be difficult. They'll need perfect squad management. That'll increase variance, and a key injury or something could swing several points for them. Additionally, I think that 3 consecutive near misses in the title race is just going to create an extra mental load for them. In several tight matches, the fine margins could cost them vital points, unfortunately. And while the spine is much improved in the team, they still lack the match-winning sort of creative spark that historically has separated champions in the final third. When you look at their attacking talent, while Saka's great and their new signings seem to be sort of perfect for what they're looking for, when you look at them compared to, the final third when it comes to Liverpool, with Salah and Gakpo and Florian Wirtz and the players that they have there, along with Manchester City and the managers, it's just, I think that they lack the talent still that Liverpool and Manchester City have. So for Arsenal, I'm going to predict a 3rd place finish this season. I think they'll have a really strong season. I think they'll have deep runs in Europe, and the sense that Arteta's project is closer than ever to the title, but I think they'll be edged out by 2 marginally stronger sides over 38 games. I think they'll end up with between 80 and 84 points, and will finish third behind Liverpool and Manchester City.